Jay here from Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm in the studio. We are live, so get involved in the chat and the comments. I'm going to be talking about all things Manchester United. The latest news we have is about Marcus Rashford. You may have seen we've had a little bit of a thumbnail change, a title change, because a bit of news coming out of reports in Germany that Manchester United could be open to selling Marcus Rashford as early as January. Florian Plettenberg, who works for Sky Germany, he's been on the channel before, quite a reliable journalist to be fair. He's saying here Manchester United would sell Marcus Rashford at the latest by the summer and would already be open to offers, it says to top offers, okay, in the winter. The club acknowledges development under Ruben Amorim, but consider him definitely not unsellable. Definitely not unsellable. So definitely sellable. One reason why a sale is being discussed, if he were to leave the club due to his very high salary, it would free up critical points in the complicated financial fair play system, which in turn would give the Red Devils more room to manoeuvre in the transfer market. 27-year-old with a contract until 2028. So a few people already. Get involved in the chat and the comments. Let me know what you think. A few people questioning this, going, "Well, why would Florian Plettenberg know? Why would he know? What, why would these reports be coming out of Germany and not somewhere else? Like, why wouldn't Ornstein know, or Laurie Whitwell, who's like someone who's risen to the very top recently?" We'll get into all that in a minute. Loads of people in the chat already. Patrick Mumford, Jacoya Trot, I think I've seen Notch in there. Glenn F. Good to see you all. Let me know what you think about this story. Get involved in the chat and the comments and hit that like button as well, please, people. In terms of, why are we seeing these reports coming out of Germany? Why not from someone more closer to home? Well, for starters, anyone can break a story. It's just if you've got a certain connection. There was a tweet a little while ago, I think this was last night actually, from Florian Plettenberg talking about Leroy Sané leaving Bayern Munich in the summer. He also mentioned as well, I think that who else is there? Is the he mentioned the fact that is that maybe Bayern Munich could be looking, to move Sané on. So, there we go. Thank you. Sorry, couldn't find the tweet. There you go. So, a free transfer of Leroy Sané in the summer can no longer be ruled out. Some decision makers at FC Bayern would not oppose a sale in the winter, although this is currently not a topic for Sané. Max Eberl is holding talks about an extension with a performance-based contract, but no concrete plans have been presented yet. The player does not have a written offer on the table. His priority is to stay at Bayern beyond 2025, and he would be willing to accept a pay cut for that. But Sané has also noticed that the club's bosses hardly, if at all, mention him publicly when discussing a new contract. So maybe, I don't know, is there something in that? Could we see Sané leave Bayern Munich? I'm not saying he comes to Old Trafford, but could he leave Bayern Munich? We have mentioned him leaving Bayern Munich quite a few times on this channel. And could that make Rashford an appealing prospect for Bayern Munich? Is that why Florian Plettenberg, who does cover Bayern Munich, is getting involved in this story? Is that why he's saying what he's saying? I don't know. Let me know what you think. Are we putting 2 and 2 together and coming up with 12? Or is there actually, a little bit of a reason why it's coming out of why it's being broken by a reporter in Germany? Marcus Rashford is one of those players, right? A lot of people hate on Marcus Rashford. They don't think he's good enough. They want to see him sold. So I'm guessing that a lot of people, if they believe this, will be like, yeah, that's great. Let's moving on. My sort of pushback with that is always been the same thing. It's like, look, I understand the criticisms of Marcus Rashford, to get it, even though sometimes I think it goes OTT, to the point where if you even ask a question about Marcus Rashford now, people start losing their minds with you, saying, how can you ask that? You should know he's no good and all the rest of it. My issue is, do we adequately replace him? Because this is a club that have spent, I think we've spent about 250 million quid on right wingers, and none of them are any good. Now, I know Marcus Rashford isn't a right winger, but that's my point. We could sell Marcus Rashford and waste that money on bringing in someone who's not of no use to Manchester United. We spent 80 million on Anthony. He's not really done anything. We spent 70-odd million on Jadon Sancho. He's now playing for Chelsea. We spent money on Palestri. Palestri, obviously, he's been moved on. We've also, I know he's not a right winger, we spent a lot of money on Mason Mount. We're still waiting to see if there's going to be any value for money there. So this club has a history of wasting money. So if you are going to get rid of Marcus Rashford, a player, whether you like Marcus Rashford or not, in general, he does get you goals and assists. Probably not as many as he should, certainly not this season, but he does. So you need to make sure you adequately replace him. That is my main concern if you are going to move Marcus Rashford on. Also, does Marcus Rashford want to leave? He looks like he's not happy, but does that mean he wants to leave Manchester United? I don't know. Let me know what you think. Get involved in the chat and the comments. Do you want to see him go? Do you think he will go? What do you think would be a fair price for Marcus Rashford? 27 years old, not having a amazing season, but he's still got goals and assists this season. Last season wasn't great. The season before was. What do you think would be a fair reflection on that? Ellen, who in the super chat says Xerxes has scored one more goal and have one more assist than Rasmus, and Rasmus have 100 minutes more game time. He's talking about Joshua Xerxes and Rasmus Højlund there, making a little bit of a comparison there. Harry Potter says cash in now. Kamikaze Ticker says Marcus would never have played under Fergie. Bench fodder at most. Tom Ryder says 50 million. That's what he wants for Marcus Rashford. Lebo Gang says Rashford has proven that he's not the answer to our problems, together with many of the other players. Hayden says bin him. And L says Jay, I'd take circa 70 million for Rashford personally. Don't forget as well, this is all profit. If you do sell Marcus Rashford because he came through the academy, this is profit. I mean, again, I don't know if he will go. This isn't set in stone. This is one reporter in Germany who I do think is relatively reliable, but how much does he know about what's happening with Manchester United and Marcus Rashford? That's the big question. Dave Javu says, Jay, I'll be honest, I'd sell 90% of them. Do you know what? If you'd have spoke to me on Saturday evening, I'd have probably agreed with you, bro. I was fuming after that Forest game. There's a lot of players that need to fix up. I get you being, I presume you're being a little bit tongue-in-cheek. You have to look at, if you are going to move players on, what's the resale value? Some of the players that you look at and you think, probably not good enough, there isn't a lot of resale value. Anthony's an obvious one. I don't want to hate on Anthony, but that's a player that is barely getting any minutes. If you are going to move him on, how much are you going to get for him? 25, 30 million? Maybe. And none of that would be profit because you spent around 80 million quid for him. There's other players. Casemiro, is he going to be here past the summer? Again, what would you get for him? What is he, 32, 33? Christian Eriksen, I think he's coming towards the end of his deal. What would you get for him? I don't know if he's out of contract or he might have a year left. I think he might be out of contract, to be fair, so you're not going to get anything for him. Luke Shaw is another one. A good player, but injured all the time. There's not many there where I think you could move them on and get decent money that would be profit. Marcus is one of the few, because anything you get for him will be profit. So even if you just got 50 million for him, I say just, but you got 50 million quid for him, that's all profit. So that'd be like getting 100 million for Mason Mount. So that might come into the consideration here, Manchester United, when it comes to PSR, when it comes to trying to rebuild, because you can't just go out and start splashing the cash. You can't just go out and look what we've done in the past, even the last transfer window, go out and spend 200 million, the transfer window before, whenever it was, Eric Ten Hag's first window, where we spent around 300 million or something to that effect. We've had it in the past. I think Louis van Gaal had a very big transfer window for one summer. We're not going to be able to do that anymore. PSR is a thing. It's going to stop us from doing that. The only way we're going to be able to spend money is if we bring money in. So someone like Marcus Rashford, one of the reasons we were able to buy Manuel Ugarte last season, I think, is because we sold Scott McTominay. We also sold Mason Greenwood, Now, those two players, we didn't get huge amounts of money for him. We got a decent amount, but that was all profit. So if you're getting 30-odd million, whatever it was, for Mason Mount and Mason Greenwood, and similar money for Scott McTominay, then that is 70 million or around that figure, which is just pure profit because they came through the academy. You go back even further, when we sold the likes of Dean Henderson, when we sold the likes of Anthony Elanga, it makes a difference if they come through the academy because it's just profit. And in PSR terms, that can be huge. Let me know what you think about this. Do you think it's a good move? Are you worried at all? Is there anyone out there who thinks it's a bad move? Because I don't see a lot of love for Marcus Rashford at the minute. Rob Palmer says, Rashford is divisive, has the talent, but now looks like a sulky child. Sad to see him go, but he needs to for him to find his best again. Dunny says, we need young players with vision. These lot take 15 million per year, does nothing, while 250 daily workers lose jobs. This is another point as well with Ineos and with Jim Ratcliffe. They're making all these cost-cutting measures, aren't they? The cutting the staff, I think 250, as Dunny's just mentioned there. There's this, the Christmas party apparently has been cancelled. There was the free coaches to Wembley for the staff, that's been stopped. So there's all these little cost-cutting measures going on. Ticket prices, 66 quid for 3% of the tickets. You might say it's only 3%. It's still 66 quid, including if you wanted to buy a ticket for a child or an OAP. That's huge. It's a huge amount of money to be having to spend on tickets. So if you're going to do all these things, have £66 tickets, cancel Christmas pies, cut 250 staff, all these cost-cutting measures, then what are you going to do with the bigger decisions? It's all well and good saving, 1 or 2 million quid here and there, or even 20 grand or whatever from certain decisions you might make. But when it comes to the big ones, like players' wages and player transfers, what are you going to do? Are Ineos, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and of course Ruben Amorim's got to have a say in this, going to make any big decisions? Now, the one obvious one in terms of bringing in money, for me, would be Marcus. There's other players that could bring in money. Garnacho will probably bring in money. Kobbie Mainoo will bring in money. I'm not for 1 minute suggesting we sell Kobbie Mainoo. That would be insane. But there's not loads of players at Manchester United who would get in a lot of money. I think Marcus is one of them. And I think that whilst he might not get the 90, 100 million or whatever it was being suggested a few years ago, he's still going to get you a lot of money. And also, that money is going to be profit. And that could be, the difference for Ineos. We've run a poll. Keep Marcus Rashford or sell him. Sell is 88%. Callum99 says Rashford has fallen into his Pogba-Lingard era. He's got bad influence from when they were at the club. More ego than ability. Gave him too much money too soon. Heaven Soul said, if that 50 million for Dalot is true, run to the hills with that. Yeah, there was a report that Real Madrid are interested in Diogo Dalot and are willing to pay 50 million quid for him. You can see it here. Ben Jacobs, another one who's been on the channel. Real add Diogo Dalot to their shortlist as they went on Trent Alexander-Arnold. Real believe United would sell for 45 million. Amorim rates Dalot highly. Alexander-Arnold prioritising LFC talks regardless of whether he extends, for not forcing Real to wait for clarity. You'd think Trent Alexander-Arnold would end up staying at Liverpool. I mean, he's a scouser in here, came through the academy. I don't know. But you'd expect him to stay. Maybe he does fancy Real Madrid, though. It's an attractive proposition going to a club that's, one of the most successful clubs in the world, one of the biggest clubs in the world as well. Nick Collins says, if you sell Rashford, you'd get the pure profit, plus save nearly 50 million in his wages alone. So that's up to 130 million to spend, reinvest. So Nick's saying there, look, it's not just the wages. It's not just the transfer fee, it's the wages as well. You get decent money. You would get decent money, save decent money from his wages. There's a lot to consider there. Matt Wick says, Rashford has become a gigantic scapegoat. The lack of respect for academy veterans giving their career to the club is getting absurd. I think there's a little bit of truth in that, I think he has become a bit of a scapegoat, Marcus Rashford. I was watching him the other night and he came on against Nottingham Forest. I don't think he set the world alight, but it was like people were blaming him for the loss, and I think it was not his fault we lost to Nottingham Forest. And also, if you're going to start pointing fingers at people that came on and didn't do much, I actually thought Marcus did at least create a couple of chances. I don't say it was a brilliant performance, it wasn't. But look at someone like Mason Mount, for example. I don't think he did anything. And yet no one's really, I didn't see too much criticism here. A lot of the criticism was aimed at Marcus Rashford. And it seems to be a running theme. It's like Rashford has become that player that almost, not everyone, but a lot of fans hate no matter what, whether he starts, whether he comes on as sub. A lot of people blamed him for the Arsenal defeat because we gave away that corner. It's not a happy camp for Marcus Rashford at the minute. And I wonder whether that is playing on his mind and whether that is something where you look at and you go, look, the fans aren't really behind me here. It's not happening the way it should on the pitch. Is it time to move on? Reese says, how are you replacing Rashford? Seen it with the right wing option. This is what I was getting at. Sancho, Antony, spent money for Dross. Would love Marcus to turn it around. I get that, and I'd love nothing more than Marcus Rashford to turn it around. The question is, do the club think he can? Hit that like button, please, people. You might not agree with the story, or you might not like the story, but you can like this video. Let's get to at least 200 likes. Jack Harris says, he's garbage, doesn't warrant his wages. Gappy says, sell the bozo. CTB says, Rashford is 27. He's not a young prospect anymore. What we've seen is what we'll get. Jack Harris says, sell. Sorry, I've already read one from him. Marcus says, I'd sell him and Garnacho. 100% profit for both. FB1 Sports says, how long is it until fans demand Garnacho to be sold? Kieran Doherty says, it's like when your missus is just not bothering about you. You know it's never going to be the same, so best for everyone to just move on. Wow, it's a bit deep, isn't it? I don't know if you're speaking from experience there, Kieran. I hope everything's all right. Mr. The Eagle says, Rashford apologist. Yeah, sorry. Rashford apologist for saying you want him to turn it around. I mean, will he turn it around? I don't know. If we are going to keep him, then I want him. If we are going to keep him, I want him to turn it around. If not, then we have to get some decent money for him. Also, Domination Gaming says, Garnacho is 20 for fuck's sake. Sorry, excuse the language, first thing in the morning. Michael Duffy says he's not a scapegoat, it's purely based on how he plays and acts. Two things can be true as well. I think he can warrant some criticism. I think some of the criticism can be a little bit OTT at times. Matt Wick says, Garnacho's age means he could command a higher fee. Floor says, I'd keep Garnacho for now and see if he can develop into a 10 or a wing back. He's still very young. I get that. I get that argument as well. Let's talk about a couple of other stories. Dan Ashworth replacement. Manchester United apparently ready to battle Arsenal for the Dan Ashworth replacement. Edu obviously left Arsenal recently. Dan Ashworth has left, and according to the Mirror here, it says that we're ready to battle Arsenal for the Dan Ashworth replacement. Have we got a name there? There you go. Manchester United and Arsenal are both eyeing a move for Louis Campos following the departure of their sporting directors. Dan Ashworth was ousted as United sporting director after just 5 months in the role following their 3-2 defeat at Nottingham Forest, having fallen out with Chief Executive Omar Barada over the appointment of new manager Ruben Amorim. Then goes on to talk, I think, a little bit about the fact that Edu left Arsenal, and both of us, according to a report from The Eye, both United and Arsenal are set to do battle for Campos. The 60-year-old currently works as a football advisor for Paris Saint-Germain, having previously been sporting director at Monaco and Lille. Just another couple of stories as well. We'll talk about, let me know what you think about that one, obviously. Got here one about, obviously it's cut off a little bit there. There you go. It says, revealed Man City's hearing for 115 breaches of Premier League financial rules has concluded, with D-Day over Champions top flight status moving a step closer after a lengthy war. If you scroll down as well, I think there's a bit here where it says, actually, there you go. See that bottom paragraph there? City's alleged rule breaking is claimed to have taken place over a 14-year period. The original 115 charges have been extended to a total of 130 after an administration issue. What does that mean? So it's 130 charges. We'll have to wait and see what happens with this. We'll have to wait and see when we find out. There's talk already that we could see appeals, so it might not be until the end of next season before this is all done and dusted. But, I mean, I don't know, it was 130 charges over a 14-year period. I would be massively surprised if City were found not guilty on all of them. Like 130. You think some of that mud has got to stick, surely. Quick one on Edwin van der Sar. He's been talking to Sky Sports about when he suffered the brain hemorrhage and if he will return to football. If you get a chance, go and watch that. Not now, obviously, you should be watching this. Love Edwin van der Sar. For me, the greatest goalkeeper the Premier League's ever seen. You may disagree, that's up to you, but I don't. And it's good to see him chatting in good health. Obviously, it was a scary time when he had that brain hemorrhage. It looks at one point like, you know, he might not survive. But obviously he did. And it's good to see him being able to give interviews and chatting and looking like he's, you know, almost back to his best. I'm going to leave it there. Thanks to everyone who got involved in the chat and the comments. We're going to be back later on today. We've got an interview with Henry Winter. So we'll be getting his thoughts on Marcus Rashford, his thoughts on those 130 charges for Manchester City. Also, we'll ask him about the shenanigans going on at Manchester United. Ashworth comes in, then he leaves. We've already had, a new manager coming in. How the coaching staff have been changed. What is going on at our football club? And also, is Sir Jim Ratcliffe the owner we want him to be? So we'll get into all that. Make sure you are hitting like, share, and subscribe. I'm Jay Motty. This has been The Paper Talk. Thanks for watching.